that really interest you?
Well, I had a very interesting experience in 1978. I was invited by a scholar to go to a very ancient text. It's considered to be the world's oldest astrological book in the Punjab. And I went there and subsequently found that there's a legend that says that this particular book was written 4,000 years ago. We don't know if it's a myth or if it's real or not. And supposedly has the name and the details of a person's life, whoever would visit this library. And so I happened to go in there in 1978, and supposedly, the story goes, they found this ancient Sanskrit leaf that had my name on it.
David Christopher Lane?
So David Christopher Lane is come from an island across the sea named California, and he's come to research, saints and gurus of northern India. Now the problem, however, in such a case is that unless you do testing on that piece of paper, you're not going to be sure if it's valid or not. And so that caused quite a stir because I wrote an article about it in 1981, and everybody wants to go to northern India.
Or to know that was happening.
It was a very strange occurrence. I can tell you that the library is very hard to get to, and there's a legend in India that only certain select individuals can get to that library. And when they get there, supposedly what they'll do is they'll do an astrological charting to find where your leaf is. And the room has got Sanskrit leaves all over the place. And so after about 25 minutes, they found this leaf, this ancient Sanskrit piece of paper. And everybody's looking, they're all expecting some. And I didn't believe in astrology, and I still don't in a sense. But what happened was very unusual. They got the leaf, and all of a sudden, you can see it's in Sanskrit. And I could read a little Sanskrit myself, and the friend I was with is a Sanskrit scholar. And it said my name, said where I came from, said why I was there, and they said, you can keep the leaf if you want. So I kept the leaf, I gave it to my friend, the Swami Yogeshwar, and I said, you make a translation of it, and I'll be back in 3 weeks. Subsequently, however, I got amoebic dysentery and had to leave India early. Well, Swami Yogeshwar died, and that leaf has now disappeared.
No.
So we don't know what to do with it. So it's a very strange
David,
occurrence.
but did you do that?
Yes, I did, and I met some very unusual ones. One particular who's now dead is a man named Baba Faqir Chand, and he was 92 years old when I met him in Hoshiarpur. And I had gone on a particular day, it was Guru Purnima Day in July, and there were thousands of Indians there, and they're all paying their...
What's it like, David? Do you go into a big area, or are they all together? Do they live in a monastery?
Yeah, in India, as you know, there's a thing called ashrams, and there's centers where people live around a spiritual teacher or spiritual teaching. And so my job was to go to these various ashrams. And in this ashram, Faqir Chand had about 1,000 disciples on this particular day, and I was invited to go visit him and interview him. But on this day it was very unusual because he was laid down on a cot with a white sheet over his head, totally out. And everybody told me he was in samadhi, which is an Indian term for a person who's out of his body, out-of-body experience. But me being a Westerner and a Californian and kind of a surfer, I walk in there, I look at him, I think he's dead.
Yeah.
He's totally laid out the sheets over his head. Then all of a sudden, I walk in, thousands of Indians are mingling, they want me to pay my respects, pronoun, put my hands down to his feet. But as I do that, to put my hands on his feet, he pulls the sheet over his head,
Oh, God.
totally wakes up, boom, hits me on the back and says, David, so nice to meet you.
You're kidding.
It was a very strange
I mean, you
experience.
lived through that.
Yeah, and then he gets up and he describes to me for 2 hours about what it's like to leave the body. It's a very unusual
Well, how did he know who you were and what that was all about, what you were doing there? And
The Indians have this belief. Whether it's true or not, it's not our point. This is their belief. The belief that a guru or a master who is genuine has the ability to know things beyond the 5 senses. So in this case, Faqir Chand knew of my arrival, supposedly, because he has access to another channel of knowledge.
he's living in different dimensions at all times.
According to the belief system.
1,000 disciples, and how do they live? And what makes them, want to devote their life to this? What's the motivation?
Well, their motivation is because as India is a very religious country, they have this belief that they want to be liberated. They want to get out of the world, in a sense, because the world is painful.